That was horrible.
I'm so excited this time around. You told me we were going to watch a movie about a bear, and I think I know what it is.
It's Cocaine Bear.
We're watching Cocaine Bear.
Yeah, we're watching Cocaine Bear.
Right?
No.
Right?
No.
Wrong?
No.
Wrong.
So, like, imagine Cocaine Bear. Which, for those of you who don't know, because we're actually talking to people, there's other people here.
Oh, hello. Hi, people. Hello. Welcome.
So in Cocaine Bear, it's a bear that, like, really, really hates cocaine, and he fights back against the power, becomes an enemy of the state cocaine lottery.
I think I watched a different Cocaine Bear.
That's the right one, by Elizabeth Bonks.
Yep, that's the one.
And then in this movie, it's about a bear who uses honey as cocaine.
So they lace the honey with cocaine.
Yeah. And then, but he works with the state to provide more cocaine honey for children. It's a very wholesome piece.
Hello, Winnie the Pooh. We need you to get more cocaine into the hands of kids.
Let's start manufacturing more cocaine.
Oh, no. This is terrible.
Cocaine.
Hello.
Hi,
I'm Isaac.
I'm Derek.
This is That Was Horrorble, a podcast where we watch the best of the worst horror movies, and we watch them so you don't have to. Derek, what did we watch this week?
Well, if you couldn't guess already, we did not watch Cocaine Bear. We watched the 2023 movie Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey. So we decided it's our 10th episode. Well, we had a couple of specials here and there, but it's our 10th mainline episode.
Yes,
so we're
exactly, as far as numbers go and not specials.
Yeah, so let's do something special. Let's do something great. And Blood and Honey was going to be actually our first episode.
Yeah, we really had big hopes for that, but then pretty quick they ripped it out of theaters, and you will find out why on this podcast today.
And there were times where we almost went and saw it, and it just never happened. Finally, we paid the price and saw it on Amazon.
The low sum of $8.
It was like $8. So I'm glad we didn't see it in theaters.
Yes.
At the end of the day, I'm glad we got to experience it. I am also glad,
because that would have been quite an experience. There's nowhere to hide in a theater.
Really, though. All right, so let's jump in. So this was written and directed by Rice Drake Waterfield. And what do we say about movies that are written and directed by the same guy?
It's always a recipe for trouble.
Usually ends up bad.
Yeah. Gosh, that really serves to be true. A lot of these that follows that same pattern.
It really does. They at least have a writing credit. I feel like for these movies, just step back, let someone else write your movie and direct it.
Yeah, I feel like you're
let someone else direct it.
Trying to wear those two hats is not working out very well for you. And I understand that you want your vision, right? Exactly what you write to be what you see on the screen. But sometimes directors shouldn't be writers and writers shouldn't be directors.
It's true.
That's all really, I have to say
really
about
true. All right, so the Rotten Tomatoes score for this was the critic score is at 4% at the time of recording. That has bounced all over the place, but it's always stayed under 10.
Yeah.
The audience score is at 50%. How?
Derek was angry. He was looking at this right before we watched this movie, and he saw that the audience score was at 50%. Are you guys okay?
Is everyone okay?
Audience?
Do we need to call someone?
Is Winnie the Pooh holding a gun to your head and making you put 50%?
Did he feed you some of his cocaine honey?
It must have happened.
Cocaine? Just get some of his cocaine?
That's terrible. It's nothing. But yeah, 50% on the audience rating. I feel like that's purely because it's nostalgia of the character and the holy shit factor of why are they doing this with Winnie the Pooh?
I genuinely feel like that's why anyone saw this movie at all.
Honestly,
right?
That's why it was interesting. Any money at all, which Derek will cover.
Oh yes. Letterboxd is at a 1.3. So at least the good people over at Letterboxd are
sane.
Right.
They know what they're doing. They're in their right mind.
Yes.
The coke honey has not gotten to them yet.
I say this about every movie, but just with this one, let's think for a second.
Yeah, I'm thinking.
This is someone's favorite movie. Somewhere out there, every movie has a fan. Somewhere
Except for one
there.
missed call. At 0%.
That's true. You got a point there. You got it. Anyway, Metacritic is at 16% for critics, and I normally don't mention the user scores on Metacritic, but it's at 7.4 out of 10.
Wow.
Again, what? Why? All of the Rotten Tomatoes audience members went over to Metacritic and were like, yeah, good reviews.
This feels like the same thing when what was it, GameStop was dying. And so people bought a bunch of stock of it just to save it kind of as a meme. It kind of feels like that.
It really does feel
this
like
is purely a meme thing. They're not actually enjoying this movie.
That has to be it.
Because that's the only right idea I can think of, because otherwise I don't know what I think.
Yeah, honestly. And then IMDb is IMDb and Letterboxd are the only ones that are realistic, because IMDb is sitting at 3.1 as well.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So the budget for this one was $100,000.
That's chump change.
It's chump change.
That's nothing.
I mean, to some people. To me, that's like $1 million.
That's true. To me, it's like $100,000.
What? It grossed $4.6 million. $4.6 million.
$1 million.
And, my one hope for that is, since this movie grossed so much money, maybe we'll see the rare occurrence that the sequel is better than the original.
Yeah, because spoiler alert, when they released this movie, they announced a sequel to it.
There's going to be a second one. Mm-hmm. It's already in production. But maybe they'll use at least 0.6 million of that.
Yeah.
And make a great movie.
Anything. Just like
Please,
maybe he can still direct it and somebody else can write it.
Yes,
maybe.
or at least get some consulting.
Just
okay.
Something.
We're talking too much about the movie.
Oh, gosh.
Okay, so Rice Drake Waterfield, he's kind of new to the scene. He's produced a bunch over the years, but he's only directed or written in the last couple years, and there's nothing really of note. It's just kind of movies along the same vein. But he is planning, alongside the sequel to Blood and Honey, he is doing a horror movie about Peter Pan titled Peter Pan Neverland's Nightmare.
He just really is he did not get enough of the death threats he got after doing this movie. He's like, all right, so I'm going to take Winnie the Pooh. I'm going to take Peter Pan.
Yep.
Ruin your childhood.
Ruin it all. And he's also making one called Dinosaur Prison. So,
I'm there. Whenever that's out, you will catch me seated in the theater.
Yeah.
You want to go over some of the wonderful reviews for this
give me
movie
one.
on RottenTomatoes.com? I like this one here from Patrick Sproul. Just says, if you go down to the woods today, you'd better be blind drunk.
Oh my goodness. This I am so sorry. LaRushka Ivan Zadeh says it was made on a shoestring budget and it's shoes.
Yep. Kim Newman says, as a rural horror film, it's more inept than the most wretched Wrong Turn sequel. As a would-be cult classic, it commits the ultimate sin of being no fun at all.
It's so true.
Yeah.
And then Terry Staunton says, dreadful script and appalling performances.
Yes,
and
all of this.
You know what my review for this movie was?
Oh yeah, what's that?
I hated this.
Bad time. I had a bad time. I want my $8 back, Amazon.
All right, what are your expectations?
Expectation number 1. Gratuitous kills that'll make me want to barf. I just thought it was going to go way over the top, because I really felt like they wanted to hit this nail so hard over the head where it's like, you love Winnie the Pooh, a good classic child's tale, and now we're just going to make it as gruesome as possible.
Yeah,
and I felt like it was just going to be way too much, and it could have just been a horror movie without going over the top to make it that way, right?
Absolutely.
Second, I thought the characters were going to have very little connection to any Winnie the Pooh anything. I really felt like the only thing would be in name alone, and the fact that it was also a bear and a pig, period, right? So that's kind of what I assumed. I kind of expected some unnecessary nudity, because give me that vibe, because I feel like that's another thing that can take a horror movie over the top and make it fit within the genre so well. It's just randomly have someone naked for no reason. And then my final expectation was, this is going to be a bad time.
I love it. All right, mine were terrible representations of beloved characters.
Yep.
I feel like actually a lot of our expectations went in line with each other, so I said that one. I also said gratuitous violence just to shock with no meaningful purpose.
Yeah.
And then completely out of place nudity.
Well, hey!
Stupid jump scares. And then my final expectation, I was worried there was going to be no Pooh Bear getting stuck in the hole looking for his honey.
Oh, man.
That would have been... I want the classic scene. Oh, bother. My honey.
Oh, no. Derek has a good Winnie the Pooh impression?
I'm just doing my Pennywise
I
impression.
hate it. Oh, gosh.
All right, let's get in.
So we start out, Winnie the fucking Pooh. Immediately, the music is too much. There's a thread of those notes throughout all of this where the music did not seem to fit this, in the sense that the music was actually fairly good.
It was decent.
Throughout the movie, I'm like, this music belongs in a much better movie. And it kind of takes away from the movie for a second because it is so good, but it's a lot right at the very beginning, right?
I actually looked into who did the music too, and he hasn't really done anything.
Really?
He's kind of falling into these kind of low budget horror movies, and I want him to get out of it.
Yeah, you wonder, are all the great composers, do they have to start out on like these lower budget movies, like these B movie kind of stuff? Because it makes me curious. But yeah, it's the music is already too much, but it starts out with a little like creepy, sketchy animation, which is narrated by someone going over, you know, how Christopher Robin met the bears and such when they were younger, and they're like, he kind of covers them as like they're abominations is kind of what he calls them in the narration, but like tells you about how they were friends, they used to play all the time. Then Christopher Robin had to go to college, and that's why they end up splitting and stuff. And then it takes a very weird turn for the characters there. It's just like, it's kind of funny though, because when it actually did kind of spook me a little bit, it made me realize how like coming across animals like this, these abominations, would be kind of terrifying. It would be really creepy. There's like a sketch, there's a drawing of him like walking amongst into them. There's like there's Winnie the Pooh, there's the rabbit, there's the owl and stuff. They're all just standing kind of in a circle, and they just stare at him with like these blank white eyes. I'm like, no, these are scary. I would not like to come across this.
I will say, like, this intro kind of gave me a false sense of hope. Yeah. Personally, I really liked the way they did this intro. It was kind of sketchy. It looked like a sketchbook, like an old Roald Dahl book or something.
Yeah. It was a good start. Honestly, really cool. I was impressed that it started kind of well.
And I noticed that you also have this bolded and all caps.
Oh, so let's build up to there. So yeah, Christopher Robin leaves for college.
Yeah.
And they're pissed about it. They're angry.
So mad.
They suddenly swear off humans. They hate them. They want nothing to do with them. Mm-hmm. They start to starve. And I didn't know Christopher Robin was in charge of feeding them.
Yeah, apparently.
But I guess that's part of it, because without him, they start to starve. They swear to silence. They will never speak again.
Yeah, because they're going back to their animal
very
instinct.
Weird plot point, right? So I guess they could talk, but they decide not to because they hate people. So they swear off humans. They start to starve. And Winnie the Pooh, as the leader of this group, decides they need to survive. And they eat Eeyore.
Why?
They decide to kill and eat Eeyore to survive.
Of all of the animals.
Are there not other ways to live in the 100-acre woods?
Like, what happened to Rabbit's farm?
Yeah,
like he grows carrots.
Like I cannot believe that Christopher Robin was even capable enough to feed these animals. Like, no way, that's such a weird thing. I wrote, it's fucked up. They hung Eeyore's tail on his grave.
It's so sad.
That's like the final shot of it. Yeah. So yeah, so it tells us that opening narration, kind of like misleading us as to what the movie's going to really feel like. The tone is set, and it felt like it was maybe going to be good. So then we're 5 years later, and it's got a pretty decent shot of the forest leading in.
I don't know what's going on here, man.
Upsettingly, there was like decent cinematography in this one in some moments. Yeah, it looked kind of good.
I would say like 50% of this movie had great cinematography.
Yeah.
And again, I went and looked, and the guy who did the cinematography was Vince Knight. And he hasn't really done anything either. It's pretty much just weird, low-budget horror movies.
Sometimes you find someone as their first gig and they do great at it, you know, like you're a natural at this. Thank you.
And I did want to mention Andrew Scott Bell as the guy who did the music for this movie.
Scott Bell.
And yeah, it's all just low-budget horror.
So yeah, it's so funny how back and forth this movie goes. So you get like a pretty decent shot of like this like drone camera footage going over like a pretty looking forest, and then you get like this really shitty looking sign that just says 100-acre woods, just kind of smeared onto it. You know, like
so bad.
It's clear that we are. So now Christopher Robin is getting married.
Yep,
he's coming back to the 100-acre woods because now is the time he decides, I've abandoned these guys. I really want to see them again, you know, which is kind of weird. He wouldn't come in to visit or anything. He just like went and did the college thing, and now he's coming back. And it's kind of funny that like his wife is kind of like, yes, honey, you told me the stories. His fiance, yes, they're not married yet. They're getting married. They're to be married. But yeah, he's telling her, apparently has been telling her about these, like Pooh and Piglet and all them. And she's kind of like entertaining it. She's like, I believe you had imaginary friends, and I'm going to support you.
Okay.
She's being very kind about the fact that he's basically taken her out in the middle of nowhere to be like, let's go meet my imaginary friends.
That's true. That's actually like really strange.
She's very kind
to believe him a little bit.
And it's really funny. Like, imagine this college kid telling everyone that he had animal friends that lived in the forest, right? And she's the one that stuck around, I guess. But yeah, so now he's here looking for them, and he's on this quest to find his friends, which feels weirdly noble.
Yeah.
But I don't understand what he expects. He literally abandoned them for years.
Yeah.
And I don't know what he wants, what kind of like reception he expects to get from them out of this, right?
This whole scene was playing out like a really cheesy ABC sitcom.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Like the way it was lit, the way all these characters were interacting with each other.
Tonal shift from the narration
super weird.
Opening. Yeah, it was kind of funny. But then he finds the 100-acre woods where they should be, and like if the name wasn't enough, they gave us a shot of a pot and it had honey dripping out of it in this weird blurb of CGI blood on it.
Oh, yeah.
Like, you've got honey, add red food coloring to it or something to make it look like blood, but like there was hardly a lot of like real blood in it. It was all CGI'd,
oh my gosh,
chunky looking weird blood. It looked like shit. I hated it.
But they added something. They like CGI'd on top of this honey too to make it stand out, because honey on its own is like kind of, you know, it would be clear from that angle. So instead of like making it look realistic, they just added a bunch of stuff to like the CGI on top of it. It was so bad.
Yeah, no, it was rough. But it's funny because then, with no real reasoning, I mean, I guess it's because like they come across their like hideout home, whatever you want to call it. You know, they don't live in a cave. They live in something of like, they've kind of made their own little like trailer park.
Yeah,
they're
it's
like
weird.
4 different like metal trailers that look kind of nice and such, but the whole place is kind of disheveled and looks like shit, you know. And so like she suddenly goes from like, yeah, you had imaginary friends, so like she's scared and she wants to go, but Christopher Robin's like the whole time he's like, no, they're my friends, I love them, they'll love to meet you, it'll be great. He is like so like disconnected from reality and what will actually happen, you know. And then this is the first of what, like 11 different Dutch angle shots where the camera is just completely askew at like this 45-degree angle. There are so many shots like that.
It's the poor man's horror scene, right?
Yes.
It's the easy way to induce fear.
The easy way to put you at unease, I guess, is what they expect, but never actually works. I don't feel like that has ever made me feel anything other than, why do they do that? You know, what is the reasoning behind this?
Old school Hitchcock made me feel that way. But it's very rare that a movie nowadays does that and it doesn't feel forced.
Yeah, exactly. Like very seldom does it actually like work out as something very cool. There's still some more suspenseful orchestral music, and it's still... It's a little much. Still too much for me. So yeah, they end up going up into like a treehouse of theirs, right? Something is definitely up. Things don't seem right. And I still don't understand, what is he planning to do when he finds his friends? I don't understand where he wants to go from this. And this Chris just isn't a great actor, is he?
He's bad.
No,
he's really
not
rough.
great. He finally gets to talk more. I'm like, this guy's not fantastic, right?
And I don't understand why they're freaking out so bad.
Yeah.
Like, they go from literal, like, she's sitting there listening to him tell her the stories, and she's like, you've told me all these stories, I don't believe you, to all of a sudden she's terrified. And they literally just saw a little bit of blood on a pot.
I don't even think they saw that, though. We saw that. I don't think they have any reason to believe anything is wrong.
Yeah, there's just no one there.
Just that the scene generally seems creepy, right?
Yeah.
And I wish the characters like Pooh and Piglet and such weren't so human. It's literally just some dude in a mask, and I wish they found some way to make them look a bit more animalistic, because it's just a guy. Because just some guy walks into the treehouse and then they go hide under the bed.
Yep.
And Pooh just starts snoring on the bed. He just falls asleep on it. I assume we don't really see who's in the bed.
No.
But yeah, someone clumps their way in, goes on the bed, and just starts snoring it up in there. And they hide in there for the rest of the day, because when they went in there, it was daylight. And I did actually like this shot. I did like, there was a cool transitional shot from day to night. It just shows the outside. You see like the trailers and the treehouse, and then it just flips from like day to night, and like the lighting is
like
all
a light
different.
switch.
Yeah, it was very cool.
It was very cool.
I like that a lot. It's also funny that, like, Christopher Robin hid under the bed, because, again, what reason does he have to be scared? The whole time he's been like, they're my friends, they're gonna be so good. Like, did they show any signs of violence in his childhood? Why is he suddenly afraid, too?
It made literally no sense, and he was terrified out of his mind.
Yeah, exactly. He was scared too. So now they're trying to be, sneaky away from it, and they managed to get out without any of whoever was sleeping on the bed waking up, right?
Yeah.
There is so much fog in the 100-acre woods.
Yes.
This is another thing that feels like a cheap thing that's like, our movie will be scarier if we just had tons of this, tons of Dutch angles, tons of fog.
Yep.
Just so much. It's not like it was a foggy forest. It was like clearly a set being pumped with so much fog that it didn't look very natural, right?
So then after this, they're walking away, and you see Piglet appear with a chain.
Yeah.
And he runs up and puts the chain around Mary's neck, pulls her back, starts choking her.
Yeah.
And what does Christopher Robin do?
He just stands there 5 feet away and yells, Piglet, stop! Piglet, no, this isn't you, as he is literally strangling his fiancé.
Yes. He does nothing.
No, and it's like already so violent. Like already I feel like I'm getting some of my expectations, like their gratuitous kills kind of stuff.
Way extreme.
It was a lot for me, yeah. Immediately I was like, wow, that really sucked. So incredibly violent there. Yeah, Christopher Robin just sits there and shouts at him until, fiancé stops fighting and she's dead. And So then Christopher Robin tries to run away, and like already we're up and running. Pooh is here. What a jump start to this movie, because I'll say it right here and now. There were some shots of Winnie the Pooh. He was freaky looking. He spooked me. Just the Michael Myers-esque, just like stand there, don't say anything.
But he didn't look creepy in the sense that I would want a scary Winnie the Pooh to look creepy.
Yes.
He looked creepy in the sense of like it was unknown and he was far enough away to be creepy.
Because he usually starts off in the distance and walks his way forward, right? But again, it's like, you're right, because it's not in the sense of like, oh, they made Winnie the Pooh scary, like in the sense of like a serial killer would be scary, because it is clearly just some dude in a mask, you know?
You could literally replace all of these characters with just normal creepy men in the woods, and it would do the exact same thing.
And that is the thing, exactly, right? I feel like the only angle they had on this movie was they took the childhood characters and put this twist on them. Otherwise, it could have just as well been like a movie about some kids in the woods who get attacked by some crazy people who have masks, right?
Just any Cabin in the Woods style horror.
So Christopher Robin sees Winnie the Pooh. He's like, oh, Pooh, my friend, you have to stop Piglet. He's killing.
Don't you remember Pooh? We played
Winnie the Pooh. And then Winnie the Pooh says nothing, slowly walks up towards him. Then it dawns on Christopher Robin, oh shit, they're in on this together, right? And then Piglet shows up too, and they start just ganging up on him. And then they just like crouch upon him, and then it cuts to more animations, and it shows them throwing a body in the fire. It's not quite sure whose body that is, but I think they burned him alive.
It definitely seemed like they put Christopher Robin in that fire.
Yeah, exactly. So and also I noticed this because this is a bit I read in the trivia later. You can see up in the animation of it when they're dragging Christopher Robin back to their cave, which again, where is this cave? They live in a treehouse. That doesn't make sense. They drag him to this cave and apparently throw him in the fire. There's a shot where up in the corner, the top right, you can see owl and rabbit. Because in the open narration, they also mention the two of them. They are never in the movie.
They're never there.
It is only Winnie the Pooh and Piglet.
Yep.
And I don't understand why they even felt the need to mention those other two characters, if they were never going to use them, right? But they felt the need to put them in that little animation as well. And then you get this opening credits sequence that is just awful. I don't understand it.
Bad.
There's like this imposed picture of like of Piglet over like news clippings and stuff that like horror or hoax, you know, and then we get random blurbs from news articles and stuff and newscasts about like, oh, there are murders going on in the woods and nobody knows what it is, but there are literal pictures on the tabloids of Winnie the Pooh and Piglet.
And it kept repeating that, don't go down to the woods today. Don't go down to the woods today.
Really beating that over the head. Yeah.
It was like, they thought of the reference of like, if you go down to the woods today, that song.
Yeah.
And then they're like, wait, hold on. Don't go down to the woods today.
Yeah.
Ooh.
It's just funny to me that like, okay, so clearly murders are happening in the woods. They've seen what is doing the murders. They have pictures of them in the newspapers, but they're still roaming around fine. Nobody stopped Pooh and Piglet.
Nope, nobody
stopped Pooh. I don't understand why that's so hard for them,
Nobody has stopped Poohing.
Gross. So next, now we meet the actual characters that we're going to be seeing throughout the movie. So we meet
Idina
a girl,
Menzel,
discount Idina Menzel, as you called her, over and over again,
and discount Sigourney Weaver.
Yes, the therapist. Yeah, so we meet our main character. She's in therapy. And at this moment, I noticed, they've got like British accents.
Yep.
And I'm sure they're probably real, but there's something about the bad acting in the movie that just made it feel like their accents were fake.
Yeah, it did until later in the movie when we hear some British actors trying to do American hick voices.
Yeah.
And it was like very obvious that they were British.
Already, Derek is saying everyone is talking so slow. He hated that.
Oh my goodness. It was like there was a good half second between every word.
Really, though. And like, just to save you the length of the scene, it's literally just like, I know nothing about this girl or why she's in therapy. They spent a whole scene just talking around that. We basically have mustered, she's been through a hard time and this is tough right now. And discount Sigourney Weaver, the therapist, is like, why don't you take a weekend away? That'll be nice for you, right? And
what happened?
Literally the only purpose of this scene is just to be like, oh, that's their reason for being in the woods, right? On this trip or something, right? There are more cool drone shots. It just feels like they had a fancy camera, drone, and a dream, you know? That's really what it feels like, because there are some shots that are pretty good, and most of those are like the shots that cover just like over the forest and such, right?
So the trailer for the biopic about the making of this movie that's going to come out, it's going to be like, we had $100,000, a dream, and a really fancy camera.
Yes. Again, why is there so much fog in every shot? And again, another Dutch angle. They're just all over the place here.
So many.
Yeah, so basically she decides to gather some friends and take a weekend away to this cabin house. Feels kind of like Airbnb kind of situation.
It's kind of pretty.
Yeah, it was kind of a nice house.
Live there.
But it's kind of funny because the first place they stop at is this shitty, run-down gas station that looks like it has been abandoned for years. There is junk everywhere. It looks so dysfunctional. But she stops in there to be like, oh, yes, let's get some gas from here. And she's like, the pumps aren't working. Let's go inside and see who can help us out, right?
And then she's like talking to herself, and no one is around. And then she just like yells to herself, I think there's no one here.
It's so strange.
Why did she say that?
And then from the very back, this random gas station attendant walks up, and he's one of the ones that got the weird accent, right? Where it sounds like he's trying to sound American with it, and it's just strange. He wasn't as creepy as I expected him to be. I really thought that this was going to be like, this town is shrouded, like everyone here is kind of creepy. You know, they've all got this unnerving air about them. He was actually a fairly normal dude
who,
like,
a guy.
Honestly answered her questions. He was like, oh yeah, those gas pumps haven't worked for years. If you drive up like 2 miles, you'll find a normal gas station, right?
But then the best part.
I thought we were going to go through the scene fine, you know, like we were getting to the end of it. Then Derek, for some reason, is like, hold on, let me pop back here. And he goes backwards, and he notices between the two shots, because there's a shot that shows the girl from the front when she's talking, then there's a shot from her from the back while she's talking to the attendant, or while he's talking, right? And I thought he was noticing like a continuity thing, because he kept saying, cardigan up, cardigan up. Her cardigan's up. So then he noticed there was one shot where her cardigan was no longer up. It was like down off of her shoulders, draped down. And what did you notice? Not even just the continuity error. The biggest fuck up I've ever seen in a movie.
Her mic pack is sticking out of her back.
Sticking out of the shirt, like lifted up by the cardigan that she's holding around herself.
So they literally left the camera on while they were changing her mic pack, and then probably didn't have a shot of her from the back, so they just left that one in.
It's so crazy. It's like and it's not even like a quick blinking.
It's like 15 seconds.
It's like a 3-second long thing,
felt
right?
A long time, I guess.
It felt long, but it is way too long for that big of an error to be in the movie.
Shocking.
They released that in theaters, but you can absolutely see like the belt that holds her mic up, the mic that is sticking out, the antenna that's up out of it. It's funny to me. It's like the mic pack, you know, for the microphone that she's wearing. I could not believe it.
It brought me more joy than anything else in this movie.
It was so funny to me. So there was that, like one of the funniest moments in the movie for us. And then she starts to back up, and then she runs into like a random girl, and some dude is with her. And it's like, why are there more people in this gas station?
Who are they?
Right, some strangers. We never hear about like their name or anything. They're just some randoms to fill the set, I guess, who are also coming to talk to the gas station attendant.
But the gas station attendant is in the middle of a junkyard, basically, and they're just walking in. All right, we're here in the junkyard, and then they just move on with their life.
Yeah, really though. So like she bumps into the girl. You think it's gonna become important, but it's like, okay, no, she just runs into her and gets back in the car, I guess. So then we meet like the girl gang of this whole the rest of the movie, right? It's like 4 girls, I want to say, maybe. It's like a bunch of random ones and then one nerd, which makes it a complete group, right? Every horror movie has to have the one nerd friend
of course.
To really round out your solid group here. Again, I wrote Dutch Angle. I don't even know which one that is at this point.
I don't know. I lost track.
So they gather there together, and they're basically like, okay, we're all gonna give up our phones because that's the point of us being out here, right? They act like they're in some cabin out in the middle of the woods, but it seems like it's in some like suburb. There are like houses surrounding this house.
It definitely seems like they're a good maybe 2 minutes from the next house.
Right, exactly. Like they're not that far from another house. Like I feel like they wanted to go like abandoned cabin in the middle of the forest kind of vibe, and they just didn't. They just found a house in a neighborhood, and that's what they ended up doing. But they're all giving up their phones to the nerd friend. I think is the one who's enforcing this, being like, "Come on, guys, we're up here to
disconnect from Instagram,
disconnect from everything, right?" But then there's one like really bitchy friend that will not give up her phone. She's the whole like, "I'm too cool for this. This is stupid.
I think I'm gonna go be on Instagram."
Yeah, it's just so stupid. There is one friend that is late though, and she's apparently like known for being there. They're like, "Oh, that's so typical of her. She's late, whatever." So she is lost because they don't have any of their phones anymore, right? So like they can't contact her. And so she's not finding the right location. She is by the sign, this is 100 Acre Woods.
Yep, that's she's gonna die.
And she can't reach her friends, and her first idea is like, well, I'm just gonna start walking into the forest.
Yeah.
Which is such a dumb idea. I'm like, okay, clearly you're going to a house. Look for a house. Don't just start walking into the woods.
Yes.
And again, another shot that kind of spooks me about Winnie the Pooh, way off in the distance. He's standing by a tree, just up against it. He catches her staring at him, and then he just starts booking it.
Yes.
He just starts running at her full speed. And I was like, whoa, God, that's kind of, I don't know. It's, again, not from a Winnie the Pooh standpoint, just like a creepy killer standpoint. Very eerie.
It felt like a Pennywise moment when he's standing there still and then starts running at you.
Exactly.
That's what it felt like, but then it immediately ends.
And I definitely felt like it was going to be like, I thought he was going to sit there and stare for a minute and then run. Like, you get like half a second of him staring, then he's booking it. He's running.
He wants to kill her.
Yeah.
And it's at this point I just wrote, he is a fat guy in a suit. That is all he is to me.
That is all he is, yeah. He's just
in a distance,
dude in
he's creepy. Close up, get him out of here.
Really, though, exactly. And it was at this point that the chase scene got too much because, like, they were just shaking the camera violently to really show, like, the tension of this scene. It was just way too much. It looks like they just
attached a GoPro to his belt. And then it was just like, okay, run.
Just run with it, yeah. It was so stupid. Dutch angle number 4. Yeah. This friend kind of looks like knockoff Lindsay Lohan. Seems like everyone in this movie is a knockoff something, right? And here we finally reach a scene. She ends up running into like a barn or something like that has a wood chipper in it. You're like, oh great, I hope they don't use that. Pooh catches up to her and in one smooth motion rips off her shirt and a bra if she was wearing it or something because she is just unnecessarily topless.
Why?
I don't understand why they felt the need for that. It did not make
any sense.
No, and it wasn't even like, oh, he was reaching for her and he happened to rip it off. He literally like had her by one hand, then with the other hand rips the shirt off, you know?
It felt offensive.
Yeah, that's the thing. I'm like, this was not necessary and just offensive for no reason.
So gross. I hated it so much.
And a lot of what the two, like Piglet and Pooh do in this movie just feels so like unmotivated. Like I get it that like your friend abandoned you and stuff, but like I feel no motivation behind your kills or why you do anything. So it's like, why is any of this happening? Why? So then there's a pretty graphic bit where he takes her head and just slams it into the side of the wood chipper. Before he even uses it, he turns her head into like cottage cheese. Before putting her into the wood chipper. Of course, you could have seen it from a mile away. And this is just the worst CGI gore I've ever seen. From the other end of the wood chipper, just like a spout of this chunky gore.
To call it gore is even like...
It was bad.
Giving it too much credit. Because it literally... I feel like we could do this. Like, it was just like a small water effect that was red.
Spray actual blood. Because then on Winnie the Pooh, he gets covered in blood for real. Like, just use that thing. I don't understand why people are so afraid to use practical things when they end up looking so much better than the CGI does, right?
So bad.
But yeah, so I feel no motivation in these kills. It's just a wow factor of it, you know, just gratuitous gore for no reason.
No reason
So
at all.
So she's dead.
Yep.
She's dead. So we're back at the house now.
Chipper.
Yeah. We're back at the house now. We're learning a bit more about the characters. There's two of the friends who are actually in a couple together. And things are like, there's a weird moment where it sets up the fact that things are kind of tense between them. It seems like they're kind of in a newer relationship.
Yeah.
So they get into their room and one of the two had like put flower petals into a heart shape for her on the bed. And the other one is just not into it. And she's like, it's a little soon.
It's a little soon. And then turns away dramatically.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, oh, okay. This feels unnecessary to know that these two are weirdly on the rocks in their new relationship.
Guess.
I don't understand. It's kind of strange. Then we go to the one that was the bitchy friend that I mentioned, the one that is like not wanting to give up her phone and such. Mm-hmm. She's just dancing in her bra in her room.
Yep.
With like this like purple lighting in the room too. I'm like, did you bring that light from home?
I don't know.
Or did this random cabin in the woods come equipped with like a light you could change the color for? Because the whole room was purple.
It's one of those like EDM houses, you know, like on Airbnb, EDM. I'm making this up. EDM.
This is nothing. There's nothing here. We'll work on it. We'll come back to you next episode.
We'll get that.
We'll workshop this. We'll fix it in post.
We should probably remove this. And
TM. So now, in a weirdly like AA group style of storytelling, it is like the main girl who was in therapy at the beginning is sitting in the middle of all of them, surrounded like on the couches, and they're talking about why they're there in the first place. Mm-hmm. And she basically tells a story about how she had a stalker.
Yeah.
It felt like a weird story to kind of fit in here to give, I don't know, make us feel for the main character a bit more.
Everything about this felt like it was going in the worst direction.
Absolutely.
And it was so uncomfortable.
Yes.
I don't
want it.
Yes, it was so bad. She talks about how she's being stalked, and she talks about her stalker broke into her house.
Yes, but at first it was just like she caught him staring, right?
That's
and there was enough evidence of it, and so then like police were aware, and so things seemed to calm. And I was like, okay, Okay, good. We made it past something that could have been bad. And then it goes back into the story. Yeah, and you find out, yes, he did break into her house. There's a bit where, like, you see him, like, staring at her while she sleeps, and she's slowly peeling, like, her bra strap off of her.
Don't do this to me.
I'm sending Derek back. Are you having flashbacks?
Don't pull my bra strap.
I was like, this is the scariest and most unnecessary part of the film. By the way, another Dutch angle in this bit here. And I just wrote, this movie isn't bad, it's just offensive.
Yeah, it really is. And nothing happens to her, thank God.
Thank God.
Thank God nothing happened to her.
I did not need to see that. Yeah, that was way too much for this.
And she freaks out, he runs away, they call the police, he gets arrested.
Mm-hmm. So basically, it is just established that she is out here, she's been going to therapy because she had to deal with a stalker situation, right? And it's like...
Which is fair.
That's fair, that's great.
Go to therapy.
Why is it in the movie? I don't really understand how this furthers the plot. Or anything.
Did not make any sense. Just have friends go into the woods for a retreat.
Yeah.
You don't need this horrible situation to make people feel shitty.
It just really makes us uncomfortable. It really makes me dislike the movie more because that was added, you know?
I definitely think there are ways in plots that can be important to have that kind of information.
Absolutely. And they're important stories to tell, right? Like, that makes sense.
Because those things happen in real life.
Yes, exactly. And they're terrifying.
It's important to note them for awareness, right? This did none of that.
No, it feels like it kind of spits in the face of that. It literally kind of takes advantage of the pure terror factor of that, only to try to boost their movie that is not scary. And
I was pretty livid at this point.
It was pretty bad.
If it had gone further than this, I don't know if I would have finished the movie.
Honestly, that was rough. So now we're back to Bloody Pooh, right? And I think he's like eating either honey or the guts of the girl. I don't understand. So I think they're eating people is what they're kind of doing. There's like bloody hooks and random corpses just hanging there. Yep. There was actually a decent looking corpse where like from like half of the face down was a skeleton, but like the top half of the face was still there.
Yeah,
like the flesh of it was there. Looked kind of nasty. Find out Christopher Robin wasn't burned. He was alive. And he's been like their torture victim for however long it's been.
Who did they burn?
I don't understand. I assume they burnt his fiance.
Yeah, but they throw a corpse at Christopher Robin in a second.
Right. Yeah.
And I assume that was his wife, but that didn't look charred at all.
I mean, you really trust the effects that much to think, oh yeah, they burned the corpse and it would be charred.
I need continuity. It doesn't matter if my next note is literally
gonna get it.
It's absolutely no continuity to this movie.
Yeah,
but I need it.
You know how there are the scenes in It with Bill Skarsgård where he like drools and is dribbling down from his mouth, and they work really well.
Yes,
I like that a lot. It feels like they wanted to do that, but they just made it so Pooh's mouth is always dripping with honey, and it's nasty. I hate it. It's gross.
Pooh is drooling. Pooh is sweating.
It was at this point again, I forgot they were sworn to silence, and I thought, what a stupid way to make it so they didn't have to worry about doing voices for the characters, because I'm sure that's probably a weird ground there that they probably have to cover. So yeah, he just doesn't talk. Again, like, Christopher Robin is still optimistic for no reason. He's like, you have to remember, we were friends. I'm sorry that I left you. Look back and remember. And then Winnie the Pooh literally goes over to reflect on his choices because he goes and looks at himself in a mirror. This is one of the
flashback.
This is one of the moments where like it's too close to the mask where you can see clearly like the sockets of a human's eyes under the mask
and
like,
the
lips under the mouth. I'm like, you have to do a better job at hiding this because it's too obvious for me. But now he's having these crazy flashbacks about like Christopher Robin as a child and I'll never leave you, Pooh. We're together forever, you know. And then there is a pretty eerie shot of him like coming to terms with like his decision on like how much he hates Christopher Robin, where his eyes are like kind of got this weird like glow to them and they look really insane and scary in his mask face. Again, that's a point where like I don't think they used his actual eyeballs. I think they actually added an effect for those ones and it looked kind of cool. I like the way his eyes looked.
You know what'd be cool is if after the scene he like starts walking okay, so hold on.
You always make me nervous when you go off on these tangents, Derek.
No, but it worked. So like he grabs a bucket of blood and showers him with blood.
Yeah.
Okay?
He literally...
I need to go back to my tangent.
Yeah, no, he showers him in literal guts and blood. There's like a spout above him. It's crazy.
Okay, here we go.
What's your tangent?
I'm gonna call him. I'm gonna tell him my idea so that he can use it in the next movie.
I'm sure he would love it.
So he takes the bucket of blood and he sprays it, right? So what if the movie starts with him spraying the blood and then freeze frame and you hear, you may be wondering how I got here.
Oh my gosh. Why did I let you take us on this tangent? Who gave you the reins?
He's like, oh, we'll have to go back to the 100 years ago.
This is terrifying. This is the worst. Okay. I hate this. I'm glad he didn't talk, because that would be terrifying, right? But yeah, so it looks. There's a moment where it looks like literally you, Derek, and our other friend Seth. He mentions at the same time they go, he's crying honey.
Oh, that's right.
That's what it looked like, right?
I think it was though. I think they had the same slimy, gross liquid for everything.
Yeah. So like in order to show that he was crying because he was thinking about the childhood he had with Christopher Robin, or whatever, he starts crying honey, and then he just like hulks out, just this crazy bear strength, smashing random things in the room.
Yeah, it was so weird.
And then there was a crazy shot where Winnie the Pooh literally picks up the fucking camera. He literally turns it, picks it up to show a different angle, and then he starts to whip the back of Christopher Robin with... I have no reason to believe this is the case. This is only a theory of mine.
It definitely
looks like
it
seems like it is Eeyore's tail that he's whipping him with. Because I don't understand what else that would be. Just like a random strand of hair that he had in the bar that he was using. So there was like wild back like slashes on Christopher Robin's back, which don't make sense. Hair wouldn't do that, I don't think.
No, it was so obviously a different prosthetic for something else. Like, it looked like maybe a gash wound or something, not the kind of wound you would have gotten from
No, exactly.
Especially not hair like that.
And then it's really funny. Winnie the Pooh's such a piece of shit because he's like, literally, let me just move this corpse real quick, and moves a corpse next to Christopher Robin so we can see it.
No.
And the way he reacts to it makes us assume it was like the corpse of his dead fiance, right?
Oh, why am I laughing?
That's what it was.
Sad.
But then, that's when he takes just like guts and blood and stuff and just pours it into this chute, which then goes to this drain that showers him. So he literally is whipping him with Eeyore's tail and then showers him in blood and guts. It is so crazy.
Why'd that happen?
This is too much. And
I wrote that.
For what?
That was my next note. This is too much, man.
Really, though.
Just
honestly,
too much.
It's crazy. And then Pooh hears pop music.
And he hears pop music. He, like, drags a corpse into the middle of the forest and then hears pop music. So he's like, my honey senses are going.
Oh, my gosh. So, then we come back. So now it's nighttime, and then the obnoxious girl that wouldn't give up her phone, the Instagram one who was dancing in her room in her bra and stuff, she is now at, like, the hot tub that's right outside, alone. Aren't they all friends? I imagine they would, like, hot tub together, right?
But she fixes her boobs, like, 40 times.
90 times in this.
Sorry. Yeah, 130 times.
She's got some obnoxious tattoos. She's got one on her collarbone that says demigod.
She has one between her boobs. They make a point to
She's
show.
just so, like, look at me as a character. It's just very obnoxious to me.
It's the most tropey character of all time.
Really, though. So, then she starts taking, like selfies of herself, clearly leaving enough room to show, like, a section of the picture that would be, like, the background of it. I literally called it from here. I'm like, he's going to be in the background of one of these photos,
and I think all three of us at this moment were like, he's going to be in that camera. Because she's not a film major.
No.
She doesn't know the rule of thirds.
Yeah, exactly.
She wasn't using that.
No. Of course, that is not how she would have, like, cropped those photos. It's just so dumb. Yeah. But then she takes a photo and, like, zooms way in the background, and there's Winnie the Pooh standing there looking kind of spooky.
What's your favorite shot?
Yeah, I loved it. It was wonderful. So then she gets out of the tub, starts, like, yelling out in the distance, like, you a creep? Leave my friend alone.
Yeah, she thinks he's the stalker for her friend.
Yeah, exactly right. But then in the span of a couple seconds, she's like, no,
whatever.
Okay, that's not my problem.
Not my problem.
She goes back into the hot tub, and not only does she feel comfortable enough to, like, turn her back to where she like, the picture was very clear that there was a stranger standing there in the background, and not only does she feel comfortable enough to turn her back to the situation, she closes her eyes.
Yep.
She like, I'm just gonna doze off here, right? So then, then in the flashing light behind her, Winnie the Pooh's walking up, and he brought a friend, Piglet's here with him, and they use chloroform to knock her out. I'm like, where the fuck are they getting these supplies? They've got a treehouse and RVs, these trailers. They've got chloroform.
Why?
Where the hell are they getting all this shit? It doesn't make sense. They couldn't even feed themselves. They had to eat Eeyore to do that. So, like, I don't understand.
Wait. I have a theory. I have a theory.
You know I love your theories as I rub my temples.
Maybe they killed the doctor. And the doctor had some chloroform in his bag.
Yeah, you know, in his, like, driving, like hospital room that he carries around with him.
Apparently they only kill women, though, because, sexism. But maybe...
Oh my god, you're right. They only
kill
women and Eeyore.
Yep.
Exclusively.
Well, Eeyore, he's... Anyway. maybe they killed the woman doctor.
That's fair, yeah. Women can be doctors. It's 2023, absolutely. I exclusively go to women doctors.
I have a woman doctor. She's great. I love her.
I believe you. That's wonderful. So they take her away, and there's a shot that is like weirdly lit. It's kind of cool, but it doesn't fit the rest of the movie. They've got this really bright, like yellowy lights, and we see her hog-tied, because of course Piglet would know how to hog-tie her, tied in the middle of the street, and Winnie the Pooh is in a car, and he turns the headlights on, and there's like an eerie shot of that. Again, this doesn't make any sense. Who the fuck taught him how to drive a car? Where did he get the keys for this car? Whose car is it?
And he looks eerily happy, too, about it.
There are definitely moments where they add some weird effect to, like, make his mask smile.
Yes.
Which clearly was not a capability of this, like, silicone mask that they had.
No.
Like, it was kind of weird. And sometimes they make him frown, too. Like, it's so weird to give him, like, these emotions. So, yeah, so Winnie the Pooh is in the car. Piglet is over her. He's got, like, his foot on her back in a big-ass sledgehammer.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, damn, it's hammer time. So now I'm like, wait a minute, so hold on. Is it hammer time or is it car time? Because there are two things going on here. They're going to run her over, they're going to smash her with a hammer.
The hammer made no sense.
I think it was just like to keep her in place so she didn't try.
But it was on the ground.
Like, it didn't make sense. No, it was
didn't make any
strange.
sense.
And so Winnie the Pooh drives up. He doesn't race towards her. He slowly drives and then like very like painfully slowly drives over her head. And it makes this like awful crunching, squishing sound. And the CGI head squish was bonkers. She's got
so
one
bad.
eye that's bulging out. There's like this chunky blood. It wasn't even fun. It was just bad. It's
there was
just
nothing
bad.
good about it. It just looked gross. It looked offensive. Again, I don't know how they managed to make everything in this movie offensive, but they did.
Yeah, it was stupid. So yeah, within a matter of moments, they run over her head and it's all squished. You don't see a ton, but what you do see, it was pretty bad. I will say, I'm actually impressed that the character that I really thought they were going to give us the unnecessary topless scene from wasn't. It never ended up happening. No, she kept her clothes on the whole time. That's
actually,
great.
for the remainder of the movie, everyone stays clothed.
Yeah. They did it the one time.
Which makes that one scene make even less sense.
Really, though, right? It was even more unnecessary knowing they never did it again.
I'm out.
Yeah, so the friends hear her scream and then they go to find it. They just find the car abandoned there. And it's really funny because Derek actually called this out. Everything that would be creepy can't be creepy anymore because they explicitly describe it, right?
They really do.
They're like, what is this doing here? Why is that light? The door is open.
The door is open.
I'm like,
what is written on the walls?
Hey, listen, I'm watching the movie. I can see it. I promise you I can see it. You don't have to tell me about what's creepy.
Please stop holding my hand.
Yeah, because
let go of it.
Now it's not creepy anymore, you know? Like the fact that you told it to me, right? So yeah, they literally see her mutilated corpse. They see actually a decent shot of like her like crushed head, like what's left of it, the remains of that.
Yeah.
They find that and they say, "What is that?
What
do you think it is, man?"
I really expected is she okay? Let's check her pulse.
Yeah, honestly. So then they go back, they run back into the house. It was like the nerd and the main girl, I think, are the ones who found that. So they go back into the girls who are the couple, right? And they go, Lara's dead. And the friend's reaction was like, what? It was so stupid.
And then Get Out is written on or Leave?
No, it was Get Out. They write Get Out in blood on the windows.
And then it said by Jordan Peele. So you just wanted to watch the movie.
Yeah, they said, hey, go watch a better movie. We're out. That was actually like half of like the production team leaving. They're like, go watch a good movie. We're out of here.
I get it now.
Here's our recommendation.
And when you died in the movie, you got to just go watch Get Out.
Exactly. So they leave them this warning, but then surround the house so they can't get out. I don't understand why. Like, were they just toying with them? It doesn't really make sense.
So
but then you get this
stupid.
shot of Winnie the Pooh walking around the outside of the house, and he's got this swarm of bees around him.
Yep.
So now I'm like, hold the phone.
He's a god.
Are you telling me Winnie the Pooh has got like bee swarm powers now? That's insane to me. That's so funny to
Do you think
me.
he's friends with Barry Benson, the bee?
Barry B. Benson? Do you think he likes jazz? Once again, I wrote the music feels like it belongs in a better movie because it's a lot, and it would be good if it was in a movie of a higher caliber. This is not the movie for this kind of movie, right?
Oh, this is not that movie, Christopher.
So now they gear up, and Maria, the main girl, is like kind of freaking out, and she's like, "Oh, I have a gun!" So she realizes she needs to go get the gun. She grabs this fucking big ass revolver. Again, furthering what we keep finding in these bad horror movies. Like, get a normal looking gun. Why do you need this Old West gigantic revolver? It doesn't make sense to me.
Someone in the prop department thought that was a cool gun. And that's sad to me. Mm-hmm. Maybe someone likes that gun, but it was so out of place.
So yeah, the two girls in the couple take like a knife and like a crowbar, maybe? They have their own...
It was a hammer.
It was a hammer.
It was a hammer. And the knife looked like a prop knife from like a middle school
Derek
production of
that. He's like, look at that prop knife. It's terrible.
It's so dumb.
Every scene in this movie feels like it was done in like one take. Because it seems like they're like, all right, here we go. And action. They did it once. They're like, well, that was good enough.
Which I could have respected a little bit more if they were using like actual practical blood and stuff. Because then it'd be like, okay, they ruined their costumes. Now we're done. Or, hey, we actually killed these people. Nope. Let's move on.
No such thing, right? So stupid. So now they're in the indoor pool. I don't even know what their plan is to do here. And then Piglet shows up with the hammer again. And so I'm like, is it hammer time now?
It's hammer time. And the lovers, they made up.
They did. They said they love each other real quick and then kind of like decide they need to split up.
Yep.
It's so stupid. But before they can, Piglet comes upon them. And again, Piglet gets one of them and the other one gets into the pool and just starts screaming about like, no, don't do this.
No.
Like, stop doing nothing and screaming at the killer and stop them. Do something.
Please. Or at least run away.
Yeah. So now there's this like stupid like cat and mouse thing where like the girl is in the pool and Piglet is trying to get to her. He literally takes his chain and tries to like fish her out of there. It's not working. So then he starts wading through the pool with his hammer in his hand. And it really seems like this whole scene was only done to do like this kind of neat like half underwater shots effect.
Yeah.
Where like it was like the camera was like bobbing in and out. Mm-hmm. That was probably my only like... The only bit I liked about this kind of scene was like, oh, that was kind of cool, like the shots there. But again, why is this happening? Feels kind of unnecessary.
It felt like when you're a kid with your like sibling and you're swinging your arm in the air and you're like, if you don't move, I'm going to punch you, but it's your fault because he was just waving his hammer in the air.
And it felt so long. It took so long for him to wade through the water and actually get to her. And then suddenly out of nowhere, he just like baseball swings this hammer straight at her face and just takes off the whole front half of it. It was nuts.
Yeah, it takes off a good amount
that
of
actually, literally all three of us in the room went, whoa! Like, I was impressed. They did get me with that.
That was probably the coolest shot in the movie.
I don't understand. Like, it wasn't even that impressive of a kill. Just like the way they shot that bit, and it was kind of in slow motion.
Yeah,
when they did
it was actually pretty good.
Worked out pretty well, right? So yeah, then the two other girls come upon, of the couple, one of them just got hammer timed in the face. The other one gets kidnapped and they're taken away, right?
Yep.
So then the nerd and the main girl, Maria, come in there and they see the dead girl floating in the water. She just has this big hole in the middle of her face. Did not look that great. So then they look out the window and they see Pooh and Piglet taking the other girl back to their lair, I guess.
Yeah.
And it's really funny because they're just like, all right, well, we're going to follow them now, right? Yep. I'm like, what are you going to do to save your friend? I do not have faith in you whatsoever.
I have a big long note that just says snort, 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 snort.
What is that?
I don't know.
Why do you write these things?
I think I lost it.
I think Derek was slowly descending into madness at this point. So now they find their lair, their hideout, wherever they're doing this thing. And again, the worst part of this movie is Winnie the Pooh eating fucking honey. He just keeps doing it.
And it sounds disgusting. And it looks gross.
Way too long. It made my skin crawl. I hated it so much.
But not not in a good way, kind of in an offensive way.
It was also at this point we noticed Winnie the Pooh has like a kill song. And it just says the words someplace and that smell over and over again.
Someplace.
Yeah, it was so weird to like some orchestration underneath it. And then, the girl they took captive, he's got her like tied up in some like saw trap looking thing. Mm-hmm. And he just walks up to her and just starts smacking her to death.
But he doesn't do it in like a normal like left to right slap. He like picks up his hand and full palms down.
Yeah, just like the same direction, just palm down, palm down. And not even like a bear with his claws does a swipe. He's just smacking her. And his hands look like he's wearing just like yellow dish gloves.
I think he was.
It looked like that's probably what that was.
Because you can kind of see the wrinkles in him.
Yeah. So you're like, oh, the poor thing, he's like beating her to death. And then the next shot, she's fine. She's just been knocked unconscious. She's got like one little bruise on her cheek, and that is it.
Yeah, that's it.
And this doesn't make sense. There's no continuity in this whatsoever. And then the other friends happen to find her. I don't know why Winnie the Pooh isn't there anymore, but they find her.
He took off. He's good.
I do not believe any of them feel like they're in danger. They do not seem very frightened. They're just like, we need to get out of here. Let's go. I'm like, you guys should be scared out of your mind right now. This is absolutely terrifying. So they end up freeing her. They find Christopher Robin.
Yep.
Yeah, and there's a weird moment where it seems like there's going to be a bit of a romance between Christopher Robin and Maria. I'm like, now is not the time. I don't have time for your romance. There's a bear.
But it would make sense because his fiance was named Mary, and this girl's name is Maria.
Yeah, so he's transitioning here, right?
One type.
This movie just pisses me off. And there's some like heroic, triumphant music playing underneath this as they free him. And it's like, get out of there. Now, we don't have time for this.
No, we don't.
And so Christopher Robin's like, go, I'll be fine. The hell you will. You've been tortured here for weeks. You're not going to be fine. Because they hear some girl screaming in the distance, right?
And we spent the next 5 minutes trying to figure out who this girl was screaming.
Because every other girl that was not accounted for was dead by this point. Like, there's nobody that it could have been.
One.
And so it's just some random girl who's
woman
beaten to a pulp, who happens to know their names. She knows them as Piglet and Winnie the Pooh.
Yep.
They don't talk, so I don't understand why she knows that.
But then she says, I know because they talk in broken English.
Yes. And again, I thought they swore to silence.
Yep.
Are they about to start talking from this point on?
But then later on in their conversation with her, she says they can't talk.
Yeah. It doesn't make sense.
Make up your mind.
In the same scene, they can't have the same continuity. It's so stupid. No. But and then I wonder, where are Pooh and Piglet anyway? They're not busy. No. They would definitely catch them. They've now released 3 of their captives. Yeah. And they're nowhere to be seen, right?
Nowhere to be seen.
And it's so funny because then the girl who's been tortured, she walks over and sees her reflection in the mirror and starts to panic about this. She's like, what have they done to me? I'm like, girl, I know this sucks. I'm sorry, but now is not the time to freak out about the way you look.
Also, she didn't look that bad. She just looked bruised.
Yeah, she had some crazy bruises and swelling and blood on her face.
Heal.
I'm like, it'll heal. You're not like this forever. It's fine. So then she takes the gun from them, and I'm like, oh yeah, I'm sure she's in a mentally stable place right now to be holding the gun, because none of them fight her on that. They're like, oh yeah, sure, you should have the gun. Right? They don't stop her at all.
Yep.
And this one, I noted they've got a cozy little home here. Yeah. She walks up to this really nice hexagon shape that's got the fire pit in the middle of it. And this place is kind of nice. For these two psychopathic killers, right? Yeah. And there's this crazy showdown, Kill Bill style thing where she's bloodied and she finds Piglet on the other side of this campfire between them, and she's swearing that she's gonna kill him, blah, blah, blah. There were actually some interesting cinematography choices here. I thought it was kind of good. Mm-hmm. And then she shoots once, doesn't get him, and she breaks the gun. It doesn't work after this. All that build up for nothing, talking about how she's gonna make him pay for what he did, blah blah blah. And then Winnie the Pooh shows up behind her, and Derek literally says he did the Vulcan death pinch on her, because he literally just grabs her by the shoulder and she's subdued.
Oh, he did it to me.
Yeah. Oh, sorry, Derek. All right, so Derek's down, so I'm gonna finish the podcast. And again,
I just remembered no one can see
they are murdering this girl, and the other girls are just chilling in the back, not doing anything to stop it.
They don't care.
It's so stupid. I hate it. So yeah, they're running away, trying to fight back their best. The girl who was the half of the couple ends up getting Piglet. She takes the hammer and hits him with it. I actually clapped when that happened.
Yes.
Because I was like, I hope at least he dies, right?
Yeah.
The way
Snort.
The way Pooh runs is stupid. I just wrote that. He runs so stupid. I hate it.
He does
the
really
shaky
stupid.
cram is too crazy. And then so the nerd and Maria are running away from Pooh, who's chasing them right now. Yeah. And then the girl from the couple has tied up Piglet in the matter of seconds, it seems. Already got him all tied up. And again, the lighting in this is just not consistent, because the scenes of them running through the woods are kind of this drab white lighting effect, and then the scenes back at the campfire this really cool orange glow, this yellow lighting effect. No consistency between the lighting, which sucks, because I liked the yellow glow that they had there. It had a cool vibe to it, a cool tone, right? It's just, I don't understand there. So Piglet has basically just been beaten to death by this girl. She swings at him with a hammer a bunch. It's this is for so-and-so, bam, this is for so-and-so, bam, and then one final one over the head. He's dead. He's killed. And so he lets out this one final, what's the sound that Piglet makes? The pig goes...
Snort.
That's the one.
Snort.
So Winnie the Pooh hears it, and again, in a matter of seconds, he is back there, and he is on the girl. And there's a pretty brutal kill where he takes her, puts her up to a telephone pole or something, some wooden pole, and just drives a machete through her mouth, pinning her to the tree.
It was pretty gruesome, but it was very obvious how they did it.
They did it in an angle where, if you pretend to eat something, you, put it behind your face to make it look like you ate it. It was kind of like that, except with a machete just going across the side of her face.
Stop pretending like I'm the one being killed.
I have to do it. I must kill. The CGI blood is just unforgivable. I hate it so much.
It was so bad.
And I just wrote, these girls are idiots. They should have cut their losses and run away so much longer ago. It's so stupid. But then they're running out and they find a car, and it's the gas station guy.
Yeah, along with his buddies.
And like a gang of ruffians for no reason.
Pals.
They sound like British people trying to be Americans, and I'm really happy the fact, I really thought this guy was going to be a creep just because of like the way they introduced him. He's actually like a good guy. They're kind of heroes, and they're like, nice. They're the ones standing up to Pooh because they find him and they're suddenly like, are you the one that's causing these girls all this trouble? And they're like, all right, we're going to fuck you up, basically, right? I was like, wow, what? Stand-up citizens. What kind guys? I was not expecting it. And so the two girls that are still alive, they end up getting in the car, and it's like, why don't you just drive away? You're in the car right now. Get out of there.
Get out, please.
So it's like a 1 versus 4 fight. They spend so long walking up to him and just taunting him.
It had to have been at least 5 minutes.
Literally like a 5-minute sequence of them just slowly sauntering up to him, being like, we're going to mess you up. You're not going to be able to see tomorrow, and I'm going to make you cough up your teeth. Some stupid things like that, right? And so they get a couple good swings at him, right? Like they punch him, they break a bottle over his head, and it's at that point when they break the bottle over his head. He's taking a decent amount of like beatings from these dudes and like not really put up much of a fight. As soon as they smash a bottle over his head, the Hulk in him comes out because suddenly he is wrecking them. It is so crazy. There's a weird shot where it looks like he's like super big. Like I thought he actually grew in size for a second. And
it seems like it.
Swipes down at a dude. It is this moment that the gore is absolutely insane. There's a dude where he takes his head and squishes it, and it looks like a basketball. And I'm pretty sure it was.
We actually went back and looked at it again.
Fairly certain that he flattened his head, and it was actually a basketball that they painted to look like
and put some hair on,
right? Yeah, we're like, wait, it literally was. There's a bit where like he grabs a dude's arm and just like karate chops it, and it severs there, and he's like got this crazy bloody stump going.
We're making this sound a lot funner than it actually was.
I don't know, it was kind of fun because my favorite part of this whole scene is that he's killed most of them. One of them has clearly cut his losses. He's running away.
Oh my god.
And then Winnie the Pooh sees him running away and waves his hand over like it's like Obi-Wan Kenobi doing like the Force thing. He waves his hand across, and then just from the woods, a swarm of bees attack this guy and kill him. So he has bee powers confirmed. That was my favorite bit. I don't know why, but that was so funny to me.
See, I loved it in the sense that it was hilarious.
I loved it. It was hilarious. It was so funny. So so now they're like, okay, time for us to drive out of here, right?
The two girls.
Yeah, the two girls try to drive out of here. And again, I hate that Pooh's weapon of choice is just slapping things, right?
It's so stupid.
And Derek and I agreed here, this energetic chase scene while Winnie the Pooh has made it into the back of the truck and they're trying to drive away from him, it's an energetic chase scene that is boring me.
It did nothing. And I think part of the reason is it was literally a black room that had some fog, because they had a lot of fog in this movie. And then they were, instead of shaking the car, they were shaking the camera to make it seem like it was driving. But it was so obvious.
It's just a bunch of fog, shaking camera, shaking car, and yelling.
And we were kind of just finishing up our notes at this point.
And then they crashed, and then every kill feels so unnecessarily ritualistic, right?
Yes.
Because it's like, it's just like, it seems like everything they did in this movie was solely to show off a single interesting frame. Because after they crash, the nerd friend gets dragged out of the car, and without us seeing him do this, he's suddenly in front of the car in the beams of the headlights holding her severed head.
Yeah.
And again, it's like, what is the point?
What is the point?
I don't understand this.
It's like they were also running out of time. So like, all right, skip the kill. Just have her sever his head.
He throws the head onto the windshield and it gets caught up in the windshield wipers. It was so ridiculous. Mickey. This is one of the moments where they like curl his mouth into like this twisted smile. It was terrifying.
I hated that.
And the way this movie cuts between shots is such a mystery to me. They just don't make sense to me.
No.
And then again, could have seen it from a mile away. The main girl is about to die. Then Christopher Robin to the rescue. He slams into Pooh with a car.
Yay.
And I'm like, he's probably still alive, honestly. Fine. And so Pooh lives, of course. Like, there's a moment where, like, Christopher Robin's, like, saving the girl that's trying to walk away. Then, of course, Pooh is still alive. And then the car explodes behind them. It was such an exciting, explosion. Yay.
And it was at this point that we started to discuss, it seems like this movie was made with one purpose. And that purpose was to have a bunch of really cool shots.
Yes.
And instead of having a plot that had some cool shots. They had cool shots that they added a plot on top.
Exactly. It's like all they had was a storyboard for this and like, okay, how do we connect to these things? And just could not figure that out ever. And again, Chris is being such a whiny baby because Pooh is approaching the two of them and he's just going, why? Why are you doing this, Pooh? Please.
No, Pooh. I have like a paragraph of, no, Pooh, why are you doing this? Why? Stop. No, you have to hurt enough people. Why?
Winnie the Pooh is holding Maria. He's got a knife to her neck. And there's such a weirdly dramatic moment of Christopher Robin being like, no, don't take her. Take me. I'm the one you want. I'll stay here forever. I promise. And then Winnie the Pooh finally says something.
You left.
He says, you left. And then wham, just slices Maria's neck. And then Chris is crying over her body like it was his fiance again. Yeah. Like, why do you care so much about this girl you literally don't know? Winnie the Pooh's just got some fucked up abandonment issues. It's just so weird.
So weird.
Again, this music belongs in a better movie, right? It's just, I don't understand. So then it's like, I don't know what can happen now. I literally wrote, what now? Is Christopher Robin going to die? Is this one of those movies where the villain wins by the end of it? And then Winnie the Pooh just starts stabbing and stabbing and stabbing Maria's dead body over and over. It is so gratuitous.
30 times.
She is already dead. Let it be done, please.
Yes, please.
And then it just it's the credits.
Yep.
We don't know what happens to Christopher Robin.
And it cuts to black.
It's literally just
Pulls The Sopranos.
We just leave him stabbing her body over and over again, and suddenly we're at the credits. I was like, I literally wrote, what the hell? That's it? That's all, folks? And then I wrote again, like, so for real, that's just how they're going to end it?
Yeah.
But then at the very, very end of the credits, in true Avengers fashion, it goes, Winnie the Pooh will return. I'm like, are you kidding me?
So dumb.
This is ridiculous. My lord.
That's it.
We finished it. We suffered through that movie.
So we ended up with 15 kills.
Yep. That's a lot. That's actually more than I thought there were.
I thought so too, and then I went down the list, and it was just for sure 15. And there were only like 2 jump scares in this movie, maybe. Yeah. Like there weren't very many.
Shocking, yeah. That'd be a surprise for me that there weren't as many jump scares as I was expecting.
And one of them was just Winnie the Pooh turning his head quickly, which was actually kind of great.
Yeah.
And then. But boy, oh boy, there were at least 8 Dutch angle shots.
Why must they do that? I don't understand why they feel the need to curve the camera at that angle so many times.
No, all right. How was your expectations met up?
So those kills were, a bit much. It's just so unmotivated. And I've never found myself thinking, like, why are these kills even happening? What's even the point? I've never felt that for other movies. It was just this one that I felt so unmotivated with any of it, right?
Yeah.
And again, they did actually delve a bit more into the Winnie the Pooh lore stuff with that intro narration and such. I was actually, I was kind of shocked by that. But then Owl and Rabbit just disappeared. They were a part of the open narration, but they were just never there again. So it feels weird that they brought them in the first place.
I didn't like it.
There was just one unnecessary nude moment, and it made me angry. But I am glad there wasn't more than that. But that expectation was met, and I'm upset about it, but at least there wasn't too much of that. Yeah. And as far as, this is going to be a bad time, well... It wasn't a good time. I'll tell you that. That's me. So surprises from that. I'll say it. Pooh did put the fear in me a little bit. Sometimes some of those shots of him, he just looked kind of creepy. And so long as we weren't close enough to see how obvious it was, that was like a silicone mask. Beyond that, he did actually creep me out and gross me out. And I thought he was actually kind of spooky. Mm-hmm. The music was too good. And that didn't really help the movie. If anything, it hurt it because it was taking me out of it, right? Again, it made me reflect on how bad the movie was in comparison to how good the music was at times, right? And then there were a lot of things that could have been cheap tropes that they actually didn't follow. And then maybe that just be the one example I have here. But that band of strangers from the broken down gas station ended up being really cool dudes. And stuff.
I liked that.
I liked that a lot. So I was surprised that they didn't go very obvious routes with it sometimes, right? So what about you? What were your expectations?
So first one's terrible representation of his characters.
Of course.
I mean, absolutely. None of them was good. Nothing about them was good.
No,
Snort. And then gratuitous violence, just a shock. Yeah. I mean, there was no purpose to any of this gore.
It was just gore porn, I guess you could call it.
It wasn't even that.
No.
It was worse than that.
Yeah.
Out of place nudity, absolutely. And I'm still upset about it.
Very upsetting.
Stupid jump scares, I don't even remember. Maybe one. And then no Pooh Bear getting stuck in the hole for honey. I just put no frowny face.
No frowny face.
That would have been really quite a bomb.
What surprised you, huh?
My surprises were the random shots that were actually kind of cool, talking about what you said. Actually, the way he smiled, and we didn't really touch on it, but his ears would move sometimes too.
Yeah.
I feel like they had the makings of a good prosthetic here that just got ruined somehow.
Yeah.
Maybe if I couldn't see his lips underneath it,
yeah,
that would be better.
That's the tough part.
And then some decent cinematography and music.
Yeah. Yeah. So what's their verdict here, Derek?
It's a horrible gorrible. It's a horrible
horrible movie. Yeah, no, my verdict was also just horrible. It's just very, I don't know, very middle of the road for me. I think Derek hated it a lot more than I hated it
so much.
But yeah, I'm not a better person because of it. I can say that much.
If anything, I feel worse about myself.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm sorry to Winnie the Pooh for what has happened to you and your good name.
Oh, it's okay.
I want to cover some trivia about said bear.
Let's do it.
So Winnie the Pooh entered the public domain in 2022, but the rights to Disney's depiction of the character that we all know are still not in the public access. Like Disney still has the rights to their incarnations of the characters, meaning Winnie the Pooh was not allowed to be a yellow bear in a red t-shirt. It was basically...
So instead they made him a yellow-headed, hick guy in a red plaid
in overalls
shirt.
and a red plaid shirt.
That's
yeah,
so
kind of
stupid.
weird. So that's why he looked that specific way, right? And Piglet was the same direction. Speaking of Piglet, the actor that played Piglet was also the actor that played the stalker in those flashback sequences. I'm like, well, thanks.
Snort.
I hated it and I hate it more.
Snort.
Get this. The film was initially shot in 10 days.
What?
Yes.
That explains a lot.
10 days they shot this film.
Jeez.
And then just because it was getting such publicity and such notoriety for just the fact that it is what it is, it inspired the creators to do some reshoots.
That would probably explain a lot of the continuity.
Yeah, exactly. So that kind of makes sense, honestly. So they did go back for, I don't know how many reshoots, but that's kind of ended what happening. So while the copyright for Winnie the Pooh lapsed in the US in 2022, the copyright will stay in place in Europe until 2027. Which makes it very hard to legally distribute this film in European countries. I just thought that was kind of funny.
Maybe that's why it was so hard to find.
In Hong Kong, the movie was pulled from cinemas in just 2 days before its release. Cinema chains in the two cities cited technical reasons as the cause, but the classic character Winnie the Pooh has been used to mock China's President Xi Jinping by netizens and pro-democracy protests in Hong Kong. So that's probably a good reason why they pulled it, right? It makes total sense. Jim Cummings, who has been the voice actor of Disney's Pooh and Tigger since 1988, has stated in an interview that he finds the film to be disgusting and makes it abundantly clear that anyone who decides to put his voice in the film will be in, quote, big trouble.
Oh, shoot. Am I in trouble? Oh, no. Wait, I wasn't his voice. I was bad at it.
Oh, God, here he comes. It's Jim Cummings.
Jim Cummings. Hi, everybody. It's me.
Oh no, that's so terrible. Derek, what do we have next on our list of next movies?
I'm free of blood and honey.
It's over.
Done.
It's done. The evil has left this place.
Oh man, I feel so much better. So next week, let's watch Clive Barker's 1986 classic, Rawhead Rex.
Yes, exactly. Everyone knows Clive Barker's classic Rawhead Rex.
Yeah, no one knows Hellraiser.
Hellbenders, whatever it's called. I don't know.
Hellbreeze.
I've never heard of that movie. No, of course not. But you know what, Derek? I would love to join you for Clive Barker's Rawhead Rex.
Let's do it. And in the meantime, I'm going to go eat a bucket of honey with cocaine.
And I'm going to go eat a bucket of blood.
Ew. Goodbye.